Alright, piss and vinegar day 30... No, 40? I don't even know now. I'll have to check. I think it's 45 or 35. One or the other. Anyway. Leg day. Rolling out my glutes as per usual. My lower back. Getting everything loose, or as loose as I can. This is very agonizing for me to do. But it is required for me to do. Especially when I'm having sciatic pain throughout the day, which I was today. So, yeah, rolled out the glutes, rolled out the spinal erectors. It was actually warm enough now today to actually train in shorts. I was wearing shorts all day today because it was pretty warm. In spring now in Australia, so pretty warm days. So time to show off my unbelievably unimpressive legs. I found a picture of my father the other day, and I saw his legs, and I now see why my legs are so brutally skinny. Like, there isn't a worse stock of genetics to come from when it comes to leg development than my father's side and my mum's side, really, both sides, just super, super skinny legs. So it's a very, very uphill battle. As skinny as my calves look right here, they have been way skinnier. My calves are currently 14 inches, which is smaller than my forearms. And in the past, they've been literally 11 inches. The smallest my calves were 11 inches, which is like the average man's forearm. And the average man's forearms are very fucking skinny. So yeah, legs are brutal, but I'm going to do what I can over this bulk. I'm confident I can get my quads pretty big. My quads aren't too bad. But my hamstrings and calves, I can't promise any spectacular, monstrous gains over this bulk. But I'm hoping that if I can get my deadlift and squat really strong, that my legs will get some decent development. But I have very little hope for my calves, and that's fine. I don't really give a shit. Calves aren't really that big a deal for me anyway. So yeah, training legs today, and starting off with the deadlift. Deadlift, I'm still really confused with the deadlift. I'm having a very difficult time getting my spinal erectors engaged, or, well, properly contracted so that my lower back stays straight. And it wasn't fully straight, and that's fine. It was as straight as I could really get it without it being, like, super light. Like, if I was to do a totally neutral lower back, I'd literally be deadlifting like 110 kilos, which would be fuck all for my legs. But as we speak, I'm feeling a lot of this in my lower back as I rehab my lower back. So yeah, hopefully I can get this fixed up and get my... Yeah, it's hard to see here, but the main issue is my butt winks under. My lower back isn't super rounded to any extent. It's just that my butt winks over, or under rather, which gives the illusion of a lot of lower back rounding, when really it's more just that my hips are super in anterior pelvic tilt, which isn't necessarily a super unsafe spot to be in when you do deadlifts or squats. It just doesn't look good from the side. So before anyone starts saying, wow, your back's rounded, no, I just have crazy butt wink, of which I need to fix. And you can see here, I have my toes elevated on some weight plates right there, and that's to put my hips out of counter nutation, which was basically where my hips sit, and this way it's easier for me to keep the butt wink a little bit more under control. But yeah, my hips just don't like to be in posterior pelvic tilt. Anyway, moving on to some what do you call these, belt squats. This is the first time doing these after building the new contraption, and these are kind of like a sissy squat. So like you sort of lean back and put it more on the quads. So it's way harder, way heavier. Had my heels elevated. Wasn't sure at the start where I could really get my heels comfortable, but eventually I got it there. And I think next time what I'll probably do is put a plate down, because the elevation here on the squat rack right there is a bit too high. Didn't feel super stable. So I'll probably rig something up so that I can kind of have my heels like you would in, say, a hack squat machine, where your feet are kind of in dorsiflexion rather than extension, or flexion. So my heels are in dorsi extension here, and I want them to be in flexion with the toes up for layman terminology. But for what this felt really good. This way I could actually take my squats to mechanical failure without being at some sort of injury risk, because obviously if you have a barbell on your back and you fail, unless you have the safety pins there, and even then it's not necessarily foolproof, you can potentially get catastrophically fucking injured. So this is way better, and this way my lower back isn't the limiting factor, which my lower back is very weak. So this way I can totally fail with the quads rather than my core or lower back. As you can see, my arms are far more tan than my legs. I've been wearing long pants for the last 8 months. Like, my legs haven't seen the light of day, so my arms are way more tan. And then as a drop set, I do like a kind of normal squat to drop set, or do some more force reps essentially, because obviously when you don't do the sissy squat sitting back in on the quads and you do like a normal squat variation, as you can see now, you can get more weight. And it was more my cardio and just mental capacity that failed here. My legs didn't fail on this force rep here. So yeah, this leg day was brutal. My cardio was taxed quite a bit. And then I do the Bulgarian split squat with the glute variation, where I sit back on and try and activate the glutes more than the quads. I was thinking about today, the one advantage volume training has over high intensity is it increases your work capacity. So your cardio will be better if you train with volume, but like, just fucking do cardio then, you know what I mean? Which I admittedly don't do enough of. Like, I'm fitter than the average person, that's for sure. I do a decent amount of cardio, but I could definitely be fitter. So this leg day, my work capacity was not as good as I would like it to be, and I might have to increase my cardio, especially now that I'm bulking, in order to get through these leg days. Because if your work capacity or your mental capacity is the thing that's giving out before the muscles are, then, I mean, your high intensity sessions aren't really going to be that high intensity. So yeah, might have to increase the cardio a little bit. But yeah, that's the one advantage volume has, is you get more cardio in. But realistically, you should be lifting weights for your anaerobic systems, for strength and hypertrophy. And if cardio is becoming a huge factor, then, I mean, it's not intense enough. So yeah, or it's too intense. Like you're doing volume all sets to failure or something ridiculous like that. And then I switch to the left leg. So my left leg is quite a bit weaker and smaller than my right, due to the sciatic problems that I get down my left leg. There is definitely some sort of dystrophy or lack of central nervous system control in my left leg. Like, I can't flex my left leg as efficiently as I can flex my right leg. My left hamstring and calf are quite a bit smaller than my right, and even my glutes quite a bit smaller on the left side. So basically everything posterior on my left side is smaller because of the sciatic problems that I deal with, that I'm trying to mend, and hopefully will be able to mend throughout this bulk, so I can output more force into my lifts. Or maybe it's my right calf that's smaller than my left, and my left calf and my left hamstring. I have a lot of weird imbalances. My right bicep's bigger than my left tricep's bigger than my left calf is bigger than my right hamstring is bigger than my left, and my right glute is bigger than my left. So if you looked at my physique on a whole, it would look like at some point I had a fucking stroke or something. Like it looks like one side of my body or numerous sides of my body are just like all over the place. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I'm trying to fix that with these unilateral movements. If you have imbalances, you should really be doing unilateral movements, especially in the legs. I mean, if you have unilateral imbalance in your arms, like one arm slightly bigger than the other, but the strength is relatively the same, that's not really a big deal. But my right leg is at least 30% stronger than my my left leg rather, and that's a big problem. Postural and force output. Like when I'm doing squats, I'm squatting at least 20 kilos less than I could probably squat, just because my left leg can't output the same amount of force as my right. And because of that, my right takes more of the bearing, which just further facilitates the issue, and it could potentially lead to injuries because one side is shifting. So yeah, I really need to address this issue. And now I'm doing some Nordic curls. Made some good progress on these. I'm now down to the 4th pin on the squat rack. I originally started, I think it was the 8th or 9th. So like the barbell was, 4 pins higher than it is right now. So my range of motion was like 6 to 7 inches less. So these Nordic curls are improving really quick. And I actually want to see what my sprint is like now, because a lot of sprinters and speed athletes do these, and they swear by these for explosiveness through the hamstring and knee, because explosiveness doesn't just come from the musculature, it also comes from your tendons and ligaments kind of elasticity. If your tendon can't explode with the same force as your muscles, well, one, they'll tear a lot of the times, but also they'll self-limit in order to not tear, and you won't be able to output as much force in sprinting and jumping. So the Nordic curl will be interesting to see what it can do for my sprint, because last time I did sprints, it was like 100 meter for 16 seconds or something brutally slow. Granted, I was 20 kilos heavier, but maybe I'll go down the field sometime soon and see what I can do with the sprints. And sprints are incredible cardio. I mean, they burn calories like crazy. Like 100-meter dash is like 20 calories burnt. So if you do 10 of those, you got 200 calories burnt. And they are great for increasing growth hormone. They're incredible for just developing glutes and hamstrings in general. And they're great for your lower back because they traction the spine. So I should start doing sprints more often, uphill sprints especially. And now I finished off with the hyperextension. As you can see, I've rigged it up so that it is parallel to the floor rather than sort of at a 45-degree angle. And that way it puts more tension in my lower back versus my hamstrings and glutes. So that was actually better for my lower back, which again is a huge weakness of mine. Anyway, see you guys tomorrow for more Piss and Vinegar. Bye-bye.